Let me get us started. So I'm Wayne Redmond. I'm a partner at McKinsey. I'm one of those naughty people who lost their badge like 5 minutes in. But I get the pleasure of introducing our next two panelists. And for those who just walked in, this is the innovation and action stage, which is a chance this year to showcase kind of real work going on across our space and highlight some of the partners doing that work. So what you'll see in this and other sessions you attend is a conversation between those partners, sharing the work they did, the impact, and maybe some of the takeaways you can take for your own spaces of work. So on that note, the next panel, or the next kind of discussion, is a workforce learning case from Workera and Accenture, titled Preparing Today's Workers for Tomorrow's Tasks. It focuses on that crucial labor problem of bridging the skills gap that employers are faced with. And Accenture LearnVantage, which you'll hear about shortly, is a solution that is offering clients extensive tech learning services, reskilling and upskilling in tech, data, and AI, powered by the Workera platform. So to tell you more about this, on stage we have two individuals, Kian Katanforoosh, the CEO and founder of Workera, and Kishore Durg, the Senior Managing Director at Accenture. On that note, I'd like to pass along to my two colleagues on stage who will tell you more about the work they've done and the impact of that.
Thank you. You want me to start a little bit on?
Go for it. Over to you.
So where we are coming from is a lot of our clients and conversations we have is around, I really don't know all the skills of my people. I know my technology is disrupting the work I do, the functions I do. What I do not know is all the skills that my people have. I mean, there is a lot of data in the system, but I'm not able to effectively use it to kind of drive net new growth that is coming, and also figure out where do my people stand. A lot of the senior executives have aspirations that, I want my firm to be the best in the world in this industry, in this technology, in this space, but I really don't know how to get there. There is no synthetic way to kind of sift through individuals to see where they stand and essentially how they map against the best in class. And how do we ensure that they are elevated to where they are, to where they need to be? And the way we look at it was around, how do we enroll people into the skilling program? How do we assess them, which is a very critical part where Workera comes in? How do we embed learning into it? And how do we certify them so that they're ready? So that is the frame in terms of our conversation, as I discussed with Kian, in terms of how we are jointly tackling this big problem of enterprises. People have 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 people. They're just lost in terms of who are the most effective people to help me in this agentic world, who are the most effective people in terms of disrupting how I do my work and how I redo my work differently. And that's where our partnership with Kian is orchestrating in a very systematic way how we address this problem. So you want to share a little bit of how you're thinking about it, Kian?
Yeah. To get into the details of Workera and what we're doing with LearnVantage, the two of the most interesting things today is long-term, we want to help the world move toward more skills-based approaches, help enterprises, government agencies become true skills-based organization. Nobody's there yet, but we're getting better by the day. And then, probably more on the short term, helping the world transition to AI readiness. How can I make sure that my organization as a whole is ready for AI? And what Kishore was very well saying is that at the top level, the first thing that LearnVantage would do is figure out what are the roles that are changing, what are the tasks that are trending, what are the skills that you need to develop. And then once that is figured out, Workera comes in, and AI has really transformed the world of assessments, I'd say. People think about assessments as maybe something that is more painful or not engaging or pass-fail. But with AI, you're completely flipping the story with assessments that can be multimodal, that can involve voice, open-ended question, multiple choice, whiteboarding, coding, depending on the level of cognition that you're measuring, and on top of that, assessments that get better on their own, thanks to the feedback loop with AI agents. Being able to identify what's wrong with a question and fix it immediately. Being able to say that we just measured someone at an amazing AI organization, and that should be used as a benchmark to set the stage for others. And that's what we're talking about here, being able to contextualize how we assess people and do it pretty much across any skill that is relevant in the workforce today.
Brilliant, Kian. I'll just give you, make it real with a couple of client examples. So, we're working with a few clients where at the top tier of the firm, they all understand the impact of Gen AI on the workforce. What I think they're missing the trick is essentially, how do I go about assessing where do I stand? And it has to be precision in terms of who are the people who are going to take us through this journey to kind of take us from where we are and where we need to be. And that precision is very critical in terms of getting people the right training, because typically, organizations have kind of taken a bunch of content and thrown at our people without effectively realizing the value of it. So when you really look at this model where we are working with Workera, is that we are assessing individuals to the specific skill, where they need to be in terms of the marketplace, and tailor the right content that needs to be given to them so that they can be best in class, or at least aspire to be best in class. And from a journey perspective, there are two crucial things that we are targeting at the enterprise level. Whether it's a data AI function, whether it's a supply chain function, whether it is anything related to telecom or other industry segments, the ability to understand the impact of Gen AI, cloud, and other things, you really need to understand where your people stand today. And that is the thing that we have orchestrated through the platform. Obviously, we are fully integrated with the Workera solution and the platform along with LearnVantage, where you're able to kind of see the segment of people. Okay, I have 200 people in my data team and AI teams. So we essentially go through the Workera assessment, then we figure out, on a basis of say 1 to 300, somebody's at 130 and the best in class is at 260. How do you get from 130 to 260? These are the 10 modules you need to be aware of to get there. And effectively, we are in a precision way giving those people that set of content that then gets them to reassess themselves. Maybe they are at 200. Maybe they need to kind of learn a little bit more. So essentially, we're taking that pool of population to get them to be best in class or close to best in class. Now, this is one segment on the enterprise. So we are going at a very unit level to kind of solve this issue. The second element where we are seeing is, I'm meeting a lot of governors of state, where they're saying, in my state of 3 million, 2 million, and talking, not just North America here, but they are saying, I don't know what my people have in terms of skills. And I'm looking at help from you to tell me where does my government program needs to target what skill, and how do I assess them? And this is not something that anybody has taken up as a challenge to even do it. And I think our partnership, obviously, with Workera, and also we are working with a couple other partners in ETS and others to solve this problem. And in terms of assessing where the skills of citizens are, and how do we target the right government, I would say, investments into their own citizens. And at the enterprise level, we are targeting where the skills are, where the best in class is. And I think that combination, very few people have actually orchestrated to date, because it's been very fragmented, and we are trying to bring a systematic approach to this.
One thing I'd add, I was thinking, what is really interesting around assessments right now? And I think if you look as an enterprise or government leader who's trying to bring capabilities into the organization, oftentimes you want to rely on external benchmarks because you just have too many unknowns. You don't know what you're not good at. And so this makes it a prime example for what we call public skill ontologies. You take the public skill ontology in AI, we're talking 10,000 skills that are necessary to put in production an AI agent. Those are things that most enterprises out there or governments do not know how to do in-house. And so that's a perfect use case for external ontologies. On the other hand, we have a lot of use cases which are inward-looking. We have values and missions that are extremely well codified, and we know exactly what we want to measure, but we need to put it together in an engaging, precise assessment. And that's what we would call custom-built. And when I look at the deployments that we have, it's always sort of a mix of both, where you're looking for, I want to fill my unknown unknowns with benchmarks from the best-in-class organizations out there in cybersecurity, in AI, in whatever hardware, compute, etc. Or I want to scale an inward set of skills that I want to verify across my entire workforce. The other thing that I wanted to mention, because what Kishore is saying is dealing with massive workforces. Like we're talking, potentially million or more people going through skill assessment, taking personalized learning from the LearnVantage ecosystem. And when you come with that scale, comes many challenges. I was talking today on LinkedIn about how we choose our AI stack. One thing is the performance of the model, but the most important thing when you generate a skill assessment for so many people is the reliability and the uptime. Because when Sam Altman says our GPUs are melting and you're launching with 100,000 employees, it can't work. So you need to prioritize different components. You need to prioritize multilingual deployments. A lot of the customers that we work with have workforces that are in pretty much every country around the world. So all of these small problems are very difficult to solve altogether. And I don't think we can really transform an entire organization without having cracked all these problems.
No, very true. I think, if you really look at the conversations we have at our clients, like, I was talking to a lot of energy clients, they were like, what are the domains, subdomains, topics and subtopics and skills in an energy industry? If we have a consultant put this together, they may probably take 6 to 8 weeks to even come out with, okay, what is the Gen AI impact of, in the energy industry? What are the domains, subdomains that you need to know? And just people don't have that kind of patience today. They really think that, it's changing so much that they want to get this right now. And that's where I think Workera is very powerful in that it's able to give us the domain and subdomains, topic and subtopics and skills. And then we are able to genuinely map, the profile of people we have within that organization to say, okay, this is where they stand. And these are very critical elements or challenges, I would say, that you will face as you start to bring this model with our clients in terms of, okay, what are the challenges you face? These are the things you need to address. Like I was actually having a conversation with Kian yesterday. The HR function, the HR function also wants to evolve. They also want to understand how they will deal with it differently in the Gen AI world. And that's the thing, you should be able to come out with the answers to this as to where they stand, the assessments to this, and in probably a turnaround of 2 to 3 days instead of 6 weeks to 8 weeks. So that is the power of what we are trying to bring together. We are trying to find answers quickly. We are trying to make sure the organizations are effectively reacting to this changes that are coming in. And the demand is also very high. I think nobody is willing to wait 8 weeks, 10 weeks to actually map all of this out. And they are looking at, I want to understand now. I want to be able to tell my supervisors, look, this is where I stand and this is where I need to go. I think that is the power we want to give individual directors, vice presidents, and other parts of the enterprise to have that answer. And similarly, there's a lot of debate even on the government side of the equation. What do people know? So I think one of the things that has actually woken up a lot of people in the government sector is, what skills are we betting on? Where are my skills? What do my people do? I don't think they know it very clearly. So this kind of working the assessment and skilling together is a very powerful engine for us to get to those answers, because we've always fragmented that when we approached it in how we are solving it. The assessment providers were giving assessments, the content providers were giving content, and the impact of Gen AI on functions were independently doing their own thing. I think this has to be an integrated, orchestrated solution to the clients, which is very critical, because that's what we are trying to bring, is to kind of weave it all together so that we find the right answer and not independently try to solve it, which I think is the power that comes with the assessment embedded with learning, and that's how we are kind of looking at this, in terms of all our client conversations. And we have had multiple conversations where we are able to engage at the very senior levels of the firm at the C-suite with this conversation. We are also able to engage at the director and senior director levels as well. I mean, that's my experience, Kian.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, what Kishore is saying around, people don't know the skills that they have or don't have, the strength or the gaps, is even amplified by the fact that skills are changing faster than ever. And as an organization, you do not want to deal with keeping up with that progress. It's just unsustainable. When I look at some of the assessments that we run, whether it's in Gen AI or in the HR side, those skills are changing every month, every 2 months, every 3 months sometimes. So, this is something really complex to deal with. When MCP gets popularized on the AI side, when multi-agent system gets popularized, you need an ecosystem that is self-sustained so that you can always access the latest skill assessments that are up to date, the latest pieces of content that are up to date. And I don't think any organization out there can deal with that, how fast things are moving from a skill standpoint. Yeah.
I'll tell you one real example. So when we actually ran this at a client, what was very interesting was, everybody has a hunch, okay, this person is good or this person is okay, average, this person can actually solve complex issues. I usually will leverage this person for, some of the easy tasks to do, but it's all a hunch in terms of how some of the project leads operate on. What was surprising is we actually, there was a general feeling that, the team we were applying this on, they were considered very good team, but some people had issues that they were not able to deliver on certain things. So when we actually ran the assessment on this team of about 300, 400 people, it was a shock. It was a shock to the entire team in that, about only 10% turned out best in class, and everybody else was trailing. And this was something that, first of all, it just broke through with data in terms of all the perception that people had. And I think this data is very, very valuable in assessing, am I hiring the right people from the market? Am I kind of attracting the right people from the market? Do I have the right team to run the difficult tasks that I need to do? All of these answers to these questions are not going to happen through gut feel of, I think I have some good people in my team. I think without data, I think it's something that we are vulnerable to in terms of our execution abilities and capabilities. And that's something that as I started to apply this and started to get the embedded learning, I don't think that data and AI team, because of the perception that they are the smartest in the business, would have wanted to get assigned a bunch of learning modules that they need to learn. It was just a conversation that you could never have with a data AI team that, oh, you know what? You're not the best in class. You need to have some of these modules to learn. Nobody could have had that conversation without the data we got from Workera. So that is the power I see to kind of have a real conversation with our people, with enterprises people, as to where they stand and where they need to be. And that, I think, is a new way of looking at skilling, a new way of looking at how do you enable somebody to succeed. But honestly, assessing, clearly where we stand as an organization or where the enterprise that we're talking to stands in terms of I would say, the benchmarks that Workera provides for us. I think that's the critical thing that was missing. I think data provides a very good conversation for us. So that's broadly kind of, we walked through how we looked at it. I think we walked through how we are assembling it. We walked through a little bit of cases on how we are looking at it. And I also gave you a flavor of the impact on the ground, what happens to teams which go through this process. There's a little bit of shock and awe in terms of, oh my God, I didn't really know that our IT people are this good or this bad. So, it's something that resets everybody to focus on the best in class. And that, I think, is value for any firm.
Yeah, completely agree. I actually, what one thing we do is when we assess, let's say, 1,000 people in a group, you can plot the entire graph of proficiency across all the employee base. And that graph has a lot of interpretation. Sometimes you need to hire, sometimes you don't need to hire. If you need to hire, you have now a benchmark for what is the minimum bar that you would hire for that specific skill area. If you're hiring for the gaps, you have a clear set of skills that you don't have internally that you can then bring in. From an upskilling standpoint, it's the same. It's really easy to waste a team's time by sending them through hundreds of hours of content when they actually only needed 20% of that or 50 hours of that. And so all of what Kishore is talking about is unlocked from skills data downwards. And one of the things that I find fascinating is before taking assessments, people tend to report what they think they know. So they say, I think I'm a beginner here, or I think I'm really advanced. And then when they take the assessment, they actually realize that sometimes they're much better than they are, and sometimes they're much worse than they are. And we have such studies across massive workforces to show that it can be cultural or it can be geographical, that people may feel more overconfident or underconfident on their own skills.
I think also one of the things we've done is we have got a cohort of people we are hiring in Accenture, and we've actually applied it to graduates who are coming out of school. And typically, you don't get to a P2 proficiency unless until you spend 2 years on a project, blah, blah, blah. There's a whole set of rules. But what we have done with Workera is even before they graduated, we got them through nanodegrees of Udacity. We put them through the assessment, and we were surprised. A lot of them turned out to be P2s, which is effectively means they get a better salary and they're freshers out of college. They tend to do better than a lot of experienced folks in terms of assessment. So in a way, we are setting a new benchmark in terms of how we take people in and how we assess them, but also helps them actually to say, I don't have to wait 2 years to be a P2, I'm coming in as a P2. So it gives people an ability to kind of elevate themselves and then not wait for their turn to be qualified as a more proficient engineer in the class. So in a way, I think we are setting the tone for helping people kind of navigate. Some of them may go very quickly, some of them may take their time, but I think it at least gives people who are more proficient a chance to display that and be part of more complex projects. So I think that is the power I think we are bringing to the table. That's all we had to share.
Thank you.